Good evening, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. I might not be in a minute. Vehicle's going home as usual. But I wanted to talk about Kier the Tool Starmer again. You know, the NPC of a Prime Minister who is going to do everything he can to screw the country tenfold. Yeah, that guy. The one who is now making plans to, and I quote, start the firing gun and get us to basically take more migrants as part of a deal with the EU. I wish I was making this shit up. Unfortunately, it seems he is intent on rejoining us with the European Union. If people wanted the TLDR version, I could basically end this right now and say, Mr. Kier Starmer, let us remind you that 17.4 million people voted for Brexit. And if you dare to put us in the EU, you will be committing the biggest betrayal of democratic voting in history. The one vote that saw probably the biggest turnout of people in a very long time versus Kier the Tool Starmer being elected on the least biggest turnout for a very long time. This would be an absolutely egregious act of democratic destruction if he does this. He would basically be telling every single person that voted for Brexit, your vote means fuck all, bluntly speaking. It scares me to think that this man is literally about to overturn that referendum vote. You know, the one that David the conman Cameron was forced to give us because of Nigel Farage. Yes, that one. The one that David the conman Cameron was banking on us staying in the EU through Project Fear, only to have the people speak out and say, we want no more United States of Europe. Now, I know there are going to be some people, some NPCs, if you will, who will say, but Brexit was a disaster. Look how it's gone the last 8 years. Well, let me tell you something on that. As I've said many times, it all comes down to the people leading the HMS Brexit. You could almost make it akin to the Titanic, where basically that ship ended up crashing into an iceberg because people were too short-sighted to see it coming. In this case, the NPCs are too short-sighted to realise that Brexit was only a disaster because of the people leading the ship. They didn't realise that these people in the Ramon parties were the ones leading the ship. Therefore, that's the reason why Brexit failed. There was all this kerfuffle about getting us a deal with the EU when treasoner Theresa got into power. And this, bear in mind, after David the conman Cameron even categorically said, if you vote to leave the EU, we will leave, no ifs, no buts. Isn't it convenient how they have now decided that they never wanted us to leave in the first place? And now we have Labour trying to rejoin us into the EU. Tony the war criminal Blair must be absolutely rubbing his hands together in glee right now. Boo! Wanker! Traitor! Hey, there you go. I've already got some part of that fucking protest going. Anyway, the point is, Tony Blair is going to have a field day with this, especially since he's a very close friend of Kier the Tool Starmer. He is basically going to tell Starmer to push this forward, double down, triple down if he has to, and that he has every right, no he doesn't, to overturn the biggest referendum in British history. But of course the mainstream media won't tell you this. You know the drill, folks, because say it with me, it doesn't suit the narrative. Every single centimetre that Kier the Tool Starmer marches towards rejoining the EU is a middle finger to every single Brexit voter, including myself. That man, this makes him effectively and unequivocally a traitor. Some of the locals are pleased, but I digress. The thing is, Kier should not be taking us out of the EU. At the end of the day, we voted to leave. It's not his right to rejoin us into the EU. In fact, if anything, he should be respecting the people's wishes. But of course we know that NPC and Tony the Liar or war criminal Blair won't do that. He's just going to focus entirely on getting us back into the single market. The thing that was, I believe it used to be called, was it the EEC, the European Economic Commission, or something like that? Back in, was it 1968? Or was it 1972? I can't remember off the top of my head. That very same EEC that basically we were told in a blatant lie by one Prime Minister, I believe he was Labour as well, Edward Heath. He said to us that the European Economic Commission will not affect our democracy, our politics in any way, shape or form. That this thing was going to be strictly about money and not about ever closer union. Which of course the mainstream media will not want to tell you about. But here's Kier the Tool Starmer basically saying we can negotiate a deal with France to take the boats back in exchange for us taking asylum seekers. No! We don't want more asylum seekers. Last time I checked, the British people did not want more people coming into this country. Whether it's by boat or whether it's by asylum seeker status. We don't want these people here. They have no legal or human right to be here. If it was genuine asylum seekers and they all came through legal means, then I would be all for it. But the trouble is, as I've explained many times before, is that these people do not come in via legal means. And as I've even gone as far as saying, even if, let's say, France was the only country in the EU, I can assure you this much for free, there are way more countries than France that are still in the EU. But let's say, for the sakes of it, only France is. The EU's own law has categorically said, time and time again, and I believe international law, that any asylum seeker must claim asylum in the first safe EU country, or first safe country they get to. Which is another fact the mainstream media will often omit from their anti-Brexit agenda. Because I guarantee you, if they had said that, everyone would realise what's going on, and they'd be like, we don't want them here, they should be in other countries instead. I have bleated this shit for the last 6 or 7 frigging years. I have been constantly telling them that these people that are coming over to this country to migrate or whatever are almost exclusively illegal immigrants, with maybe a select handful as exceptions. Therefore, we have no moral or legal obligation to house any of them. Therefore, what we should be doing is putting them back on their boats and sending them straight back to their country of origin. Take out the trash, if you will. Because we don't want more cheap labour imported into this country, who we don't even know their backgrounds, what they've done, or whether or not they're going to actually contribute to our society. We want people, by all means, who have got the qualifications, who have got the skills to pay the bills. And to be fair, at this point, most of us don't even want any people in here because of the fact we're bursting at the seams. But here's Kier the Tool Starmer saying, if you take the boats back, we'll take some of the asylum seekers. Which, as I've said just a few moments ago, these people, if they were genuine asylum seekers, would have claimed their asylum in other countries. which quite frankly they have not done, because let's face it, let's put you in that position. If you had the choice between going to a country that did fuck all for you, a country that did minimalistic stuff for you, or a country that will literally roll out the red carpet for you and offer you free housing and benefits at the taxpayer's expense, what are you going to go for? Put yourself in their shoes. And I wouldn't blame you at all if you picked the third option. Likewise, I don't think anybody could really blame me if I picked that option, if I was an illegal immigrant. That's the thing. The migrants that are coming, illegal or otherwise, are just trying to get a better life for themselves. So we can't wholly blame the migrants for just having that base instinct for survival. What we can blame them for is any actions that they commit in our country when they are expected to abide by our beliefs and by our rules. And this hoodlum is being a real pain in the ass. Anyway, they are supposed to be abiding by our rules and customs and beliefs, but a lot of them don't, which again, the mainstream media don't want to tell you about. Because once again, if it came out that a lot of these people have come here to commit crime or do other malicious things to us, I guarantee you, the sheeple right now would be on our side. They would convert in seconds, because they'd be like, we don't want to have all this. We don't want to have people coming over to our country illegally, not wanting to contribute. Likewise, they'd be saying, as far as Kier the Tool Starmer is concerned, you can take your fucking deal and shove it where the sun doesn't shine, quite frankly. Because this deal is not even a deal. It's basically, we're begging them to take the boats, and we will take a few migrants. Or sorry, asylum seekers, which most of them won't be. Let's face it. If it was women and children, of course I'd be sympathetic, because generally speaking, they're the people who need the help the most. But for the most part, a lot of the people that come over here are fighting age or middle-aged men who are economic migrants at best and illegal invaders at worst. Like, the way to look at it is this. These people that are invading our country through the back door, since the front door didn't work with the Nazis, these people are coming in because some of them are even genuine invaders that want to do harm to our country and do what Hitler could not. But a lot of these people are coming in for economic gain. They're not here because they need asylum. They're not here because they're fleeing a war-torn country, although in some cases there will be exceptions. They're doing it purely for financial gain, and because they know full well that Britain is a soft touch. If we had somebody in power who had the brass balls, whether up here or down there, or in my case both, to be able to deal with these invaders, because that's what they are, until they prove otherwise, we would be in a much better spot right now. But this traitor that is Kier the Tool Starmer is now saying we want to put a deal out there that means that we take even more people in. This fucking tool, this twat, has literally missed the entire point of this election. He has missed the fucking point by a country mile. We don't want these people. We don't want any more people in this country. We want the drawbridge drawn up. We want the borders closed. We don't want any more people coming in who, A, we don't know their backgrounds, B, we don't know who they are, and C, we don't know if they're actually going to contribute anything. Because at the end of the day, the Prime Minister's first duty, his or her civic duty, is to protect its realm, or his or her realm, and then protect their inhabitants from all attacks, from all invaders, from all threats. But Kier the Tool Starmer seems more interested in opening the floodgates. He seems more interested in, like, you can see the fucking great flood that Noah had to deal with, and instead of getting on the ship and closing up and setting sail, he's basically holding that ship down while the flood comes in, and he might as well say, yes, all the water can come into this ship and drown everyone. That's basically what he's doing. He's opened the floodgates. It may be better to do it to a city rather than a boat, because at least a boat can float, generally speaking. But he's got control of a city. He sees a flood coming in, and rather than shore up the defences, he's literally lowering the gates. That's what he's doing. Now, I don't know about you, but as I said, I voted for Brexit. 17.4 million people voted for Brexit, in the hopes that we could stop the EU from encroaching on our territory, and they still do to this day with the ECHR, which we need to come out of. They still encroach on our territory. We still haven't closed the borders. We're still accepting migrants, even though we have categorically said we left the EU for the specific purpose of regaining sovereignty and control of our borders. And this tool actually thinks that we're going to sit here and put up with it. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'm not putting up with it. What say you? On the 27th of July is our chance to head down to Trafalgar Square and tell the traitors in the Houses of Treachery, I mean Parliament, or maybe I was right first time, we are going to tell them enough is enough, bring up the drawbridge, stop accepting new people, take out the trash. We should not be housing criminals from foreign countries who have no purpose in this country other than to undermine us. What say you? I think it's time we told Kier the Tool Starmer we voted, admittedly a lot of us for reform because we didn't trust Labour, but the NPCs voted for Labour in hopes to God they could fix the country. Right now, it's barely been 2 fucking weeks, and they are looking set to destroy the country. Not fix it, destroy it. Which, of course, the mainstream media won't admit, because they are part of the globalist and socialist agenda. Hell, the bill that came out from King Charles, and I'm going to have to say it, I think His Majesty is also an NPC. Or is it an NPK at this point? A non-player character or king. A character who has literally decided to basically go off what the Tories have said. He has the power to stop all this, but he chooses to stick his head up his arse, sit on his throne, and do jack shit, quite frankly. Remember when the Queen ended up impeaching, or what was it? Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Proroguing, that was it. Proroguing Parliament on the back of Brexit. What's the King going to do? Is he going to realise the wishes of the British people? Or is he too going to stick a middle finger up at us, like Kier the Tool Starmer has? We need to find out. But one thing's for sure, on the 27th of July, we need to put them all on full blast. We need to tell them we are not going to tolerate this. You are not going to destroy our country. You are not going to bring in more illegals that have no right to be here. You are not going to continue to push this Islamic state upon us, which we wholly condemn and do not accept. And you are not going to continue perverting the course of democracy through your now ill intentions to put us back in the EU. I don't know about you, but I think the 27th has now become even more critical. It was already going to be the biggest day of our lives, and Tommy Robertson's even put out another message about it. But I think now, the longer this goes on, the more critical it is that we attend this rally. I've even gotten into contact with one of my close friends, and I am trying to convince him. He was tentative about it because he said he might do it. I am trying to get him on board. I'm trying to get him on board. I'm trying to get him to come along. And even if he invites one other friend, we've got to get friends inviting friends, and their friends of friends inviting other friends, so we can make this rally the biggest one and the biggest day of our lives. Because if we do not rally together, we will sink. It's as simple as that. It is that the mainstream media and the left-wing NPCs have always had one goal, and one goal only: divide and conquer. United we stand, divided we fall. Let's show the traitors in Parliament we will stand united on the 27th of July, and we will show them that we must take out the trash, namely all those criminals in our prisons that are foreign. We need to get rid of all of them, no exceptions. We then need to deal with the Islamic problem that is homegrown. That way we can stop the Muslim rape gangs from continually violating our women and children. Then we need to, well, even before that I suspect, we need to secure our borders so that we don't get any more foreign invaders. Because at the end of the day, that's the biggest issue right now. The one that Kier the Tool Starmer is more interested in sidestepping, or even worse, working with the invaders to get them into our country. I think that needs to stop, and it needs to stop now. So let's be there on the 27th of July, ready to take out the trash and make sure our country and our politicians respect who we are, what we want, and what we should be doing. Because at the end of the day, these politicians are elected by us to represent us. Well, right now, they represent fuck all of us. And they will only continue to serve themselves until we decide to permanently put a stop to it through our rally on the 27th.